going to start the webinar, and our speakers will be given 10 to 15 minutes maximum each for doing the presentation. And for those who want to ask a question, please write it down on the chat room, and we will have a Q&A session by the end of the webinar. First, I would like to invite Sarbas Rezvi to give us the first presentation. Please, Rezvi, time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for organizing such an important webinar in such an important time, of course. My special regards to the Paramadina University and the organizers, and special thanks to you, Silviana, as the moderator of this event, and other respectful guests. My presentation, if the organizers may share the slides, which I tried to make it as much as possible brief, because we don't have too much of time and I want to waste your time too much. I will go to the point directly. Technology for the sake of occupation. We should typically, I don't know if I'm getting, yes, thank you. Yes, technology for the sake of occupation. So you should know that all of us have heard about the technological advancement of the Israel or Zionist regime throughout these 70 years from the creation of this legitimate state. Of course, we shall say that they have achieved too much in the fields of technology, and the policies behind these advances in the technological fields are actually as a part of the legitimization of the Zionist regime at international level. And let's be very frank and truth that yes, Zionists have been successful in this field. No one has any doubt about the concentration of the Zionist technological advancement in the fields of military advancements. And because there has been an ongoing conflict in this region between Israelis and the Palestinians and also other nations, other Arab nations of the region, the technological advancements in the fields of war technology and warfare has been at the concentration. If you come to the first slide, Iron Dome. Maybe this Iron Dome, this terminology, yes, this is the slide, of course. Maybe this Iron Dome can be represented as the symbol of the Zionist or Israeli technology. You should know that Iron Dome was a system developed by one of maybe the most important technological center of the Israel, known as Rafael Advanced Defense Systems. Rafael Advanced Defense Systems developed Iron Dome in 2011. 2011 was the year when this system, which was designed to protect the Israelis from the short-range rockets, typically being fired from the Gaza Strip. Since 2006, Hamas got the rule in Gaza Strip, and of course, from the same time, they faced a siege from sea, from land, and from air. So there was no possible way of going and coming to Gaza Strip. But in spite of that, the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas, was able to develop some short range missiles, typically known as Qassam missiles. And you should know that Qassam is the name of the brigades of Hamas as well. Izzuddin Qassam, who was the well-known Syrian freedom fighter of Tatis, who was martyred during those years by the Israelis, was given the name to the rockets that were also developed very basically, very with very basic technology inside the Gaza Strip. Israel decided to protect itself. In 2008, when the first war after the rule of Hamas took place in Gaza Strip, Israelis found themselves vulnerable because of the rockets being fired from Gaza. So they started to develop their defense system known as Iron Dome, which was practical in 2011. As I mentioned to you, Iron Dome is consisted of some batteries. Each battery is taking almost 20 Tamir missiles. Each Tamir missile is a missile with a range of almost 40 kilometers. So I mean, their effective range of action is 40 kilometers, and each rocket is costing something between $20,000 to $100,000. $20,000 to $100,000 is the cost of a Tamir missile. You should know that Tamir missile is a two-stage missile. It means that at the first stage, when the detection system is detecting a rocket being fired towards the land, for example, and they are estimating the possible target, and then when they are getting that this possible target is an important target that should be protected, a Tamir missile is being fired toward that rocket. So the point is that here that these Tamir missiles either hit the rocket or may not hit the rocket. So even if they do not hit the rocket, there is a self-system, there's a technical system inside Tamir missiles that they will explode automatically inside in the air. So even if either they hit the target or not, they're gonna be vanished and in the air, because unless they could possibly be another threat to the Israelis themselves. So each is costing about $20,000 to $100,000. Israelis claim that the system of Iron Dome, which was designed to protect Israel from short-range rockets, has a success of 90%. It means 90% of all those rockets, it's what they claim, is what they claim. 90% of all those rockets being fired towards them are being targeted by Iron Dome. But there is one big question that all the all the experts in the fields of weaponry have mentioned, that is the maximum saturation point of Iron Dome. What does it mean? Maximum saturation of saturation point of Iron Dome means a level in which the system, if there is a barrage of rockets being fired simultaneously towards Israel, for example, Iron Dome has again and again proved that it is not practical and it is not able to detect and be functional as it is required. So there is a big weak point for Iron Dome. That this is one point, that maximum saturation point. Another point is that Iron Dome is designed to protect against the short-range missiles. Meanwhile, if are being fired, because mortars has another system of being fired inside the lands, Iron Dome is not effective about them. So this is effective for a certain range of rockets being used, and if the fired rockets are not increasing a certain threshold. So if the fired rockets are increasing more than that, the Iron Dome has proved that it is not effective. If we go to the next slide, which is David Sling. If the respected moderator can show the audience the next. Yes, David Sling. David Sling or Magic Wand. Yes, David Sling or Magic Wand is the second layer of the Israeli defense layer system. In the next slide, I will show you different layers. David Sling. Some may ask, what is the difference between? Yes, exactly. Here you can see. So we have the short-range missiles for which Iron Dome is designed, middle-range missiles, and also drones, and also the fighters or helicopters are being targeted by David Sling. And then for the ballistic missile threats, we have Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 system. So at least there are 4 layers of defense system which has not been practical. All of them has not been practical. The Iron Dome was practical since 2011. If we go to the previous slide, David Sling was practiced 2017. David Sling was used again. David Sling is developed by the Rafael Advanced Defense System, designed for medium range defense system. It starts from 400 kilometers to 200 to 300 kilometers. And as I mentioned, it's designed to intercept the planes, drones, tactical ballistic missiles, and medium range rockets and cruise missiles. fired from the range of 440 kilometers to 300 kilometers. So this is the second system. And the third, as it is mentioned in this, is the Arrow 3 and Arrow 2. If you go to the next slide, I want to come to the conclusion as well. Yes. And this is my final slide about which I want to talk a little bit more. So if we look at the events that took place in 2020, the Gaza war, and let's look at it from the perspective of the effectiveness of the system. One important thing, let's not forget, was the previous event that took place just few weeks before the Gaza war in 2021. Few weeks before Gaza war in 2021, there was a missile fired, and it blasted somewhere inside Dimona, which is a city in the central part of the occupied lands. And this is the same city in which the most sensitive Israeli atomic infrastructures are located. So just few weeks before the start of war, in May, if I'm not wrong, we had an explosion somewhere next to the Dimona nuclear facilities. So there were different, analysis about what was that, explosion about. So the initial reports were talking about a rocket being fired from the Syria that landed in Dimona. The Israeli media and Israeli, sources claim that this was actually because of fights taking place at Golan Heights, and one of the defense Syrian missiles were fired towards an Israeli fighter, but it missed its way and its target and landed in Dimona, which is not acceptable. Almost none of I did not observe any technical or any source accepting this story mentioned by the Zionist media or Israeli media. This was impossible because the angle is totally different. Golan Heights is located in northern, east of the Palestine. Dimona is exactly at the center, more than 250 kilometers away from that area. So the point was that, and some others claim that this was a rocket fired by Iran, and there were different analysis about that. But the point is not about that rocket. The point is about this defense system. So the slingshot, David slingshot, because it's the name from the same slingshot. David Sling, which was designed to intercept the long range or medium range missiles, was ineffective. David Slings, since 2017, when it came to the operational field, they made a huge, advertisement and promotion about this is the system that is protecting Israel from middle-range missiles and blah, 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 blah. But in spite of that, David Sling was not successful in protecting not a normal place in Israel, but the most sensitive place, which was Dimona. So a huge question mark was in front of that. And we heard after that Israelis made special committees to discuss what was the problem and how the Israeli defense system wasn't able to detect and protect and intercept this missile fire. So this event took place just a few weeks before the war. When the 2021 war started, based on the statistics, more than 4,000 rockets fired from Gaza. Israelis are claiming that 2/3 of these rockets were missing their target. It means they were claiming that, let's not forget, for the statistics about the rockets, we do not have any other Israeli sources. So we cannot accept and deny, because we do not have any other source. We will just review the statistics mentioned by the Israeli sources. Israelis claim that 2/3 of these 4,369 rockets fired were missing the targets. It means that they were either landing in some desert areas or even inside Gaza or whatsoever. So it means something like 1,500 rockets were towards the built areas. This is what Israelis claim. Two-thirds of something like 4,369. Okay, so Israelis claim out of this almost 1,500 rockets fired, 90% of them were intercepted by Iron Dome. Let's accept what Israelis claim. It means only 150 rockets were fired inside, were fired and they hit the targets. But when we come to the reports, at least 500 to 600 to 700 cases of either cars being hit, shopping centers, streets, houses, military places are being hit. So there is a gap of the statistics. So if only 100 have reached their target and landed inside occupied lands, so why we have hundreds of targets inside the occupied lands? Why is that so? Let's not forget that Israelis have a very sophisticated alarming system to protect its people. So when any rocket is fired, there is a system of alarming. It's on the TV, it's on radio, it's on mobile applications, it's on loudspeakers. I mean, everything is there to inform the people that you are under threat. More than that, shelters are being provided everywhere in Israel. So every house there is a neighborhood shelter, and anywhere you can get sheltered anywhere. So if only 150 rockets had targeted the land, inside the lands, and you have that alarming system, and also you have that sheltering system, why almost 10 to 12 people have lost their lives and dozens more have been injured? Because the statistics talk about at least 12 people died and hundreds of people being injured. So all these clues tell us that much more than this, much more than 150 rockets, much more than 10% of the rockets have landed inside Israel. And there is a big question mark. One more point. Let's not forget the night, two days after the start of war, the Palestinian resistance movement targeted for the first time Tel Aviv. And Tel Aviv was targeted by hundreds of rockets at the same time. And this was exactly the same point, as I mentioned to you, the maximum saturation point of the Iron Dome system. So based on the analysis and based on the weak point that they themselves have claimed, the maximum saturation point was crossed. And it can be understood that the Israelis were not successful in protecting Tel Aviv from these rockets being fired. Also, let's not forget, 3 days after the start of war, Palestinians revealed a new missile called as Ayash 250. What was Ayash 250? Ayash 250 was a rocket that the Palestinians were claiming that this is a 250 kilometers long range missile. So 250 kilometers, the total length of Gaza from south to north is 40 kilometers. And we were talking about 250 kilometers of range. It was giving us this idea that the Palestinian resistance were claiming that they are able to hit any place. Is there? How many minutes more? Or
one more minute. Is it okay?
Okay, one more minute. I'll finalize it. Thank you for this. So altogether, put that all together. The conclusion that I want to make is that yes, Israelis are investing too much on their technological aspects, but the reality is that they are not able to protect themselves against Gaza. And the big question mark in front of the Zionist strategic centers, what was? It was that if we are not able to protect ourselves in front of Gaza and the Palestinians with a stockpile of almost 14,000 rockets, what we are going to do to Lebanon and Hezbollah, that they claim that the minimum estimates are talking about 150,000 missiles with different range and power of explosive powers, and what we are going to do to Iran. And these are the big question marks in front of the Zionists. Thank you for listening to me. Sorry if I'm out of the time.